Welcome back, everybody, to Sanity Lost, the bonus episode that really messed up Spotify when I uploaded it last time.
Uh-oh.
It is the Q&A episode. It only messed up the actual numbering, but then I fixed it later.
It took down all of Spotify.
It didn't take it all down, but it...
You're welcome.
Yeah, that's why Anchor turned into Spotify Podcast or whatever it's called now. But I don't have a banter topic. I think I did, now to think about it. Oh, here, you want to know the banter real quick? I already told John about this. I found the name of that movie. It's actually just a short called The Tree Hollow or whatever it's called. I forgot it already. But I don't know, John, if you watched it yet or
Not
have.
yet.
But
Not yet.
it has potential, but it was pretty much just a demo. And, like, the best way I could explain it, and it's a very niche way of explaining it, is I think it's the hollow tree. It's gonna bother me now. Hold on, let me just bring this up and
your chat message.
yeah, with you.
Yep.
Yeah, a hollow tree.
tree.
A hollow tree. It is a. I realized what I was about to describe it with, and it was like the movie I was going to compare it to is a horror movie, sort of. But yeah, it is pretty much imagine The Road with supernatural entities.
Interesting.
So, but the thing is, like, the supernatural side really isn't focused on a whole lot. I think they're saving that more for there, but there's a scene in there that I'm like, I could see certain people pooping their pants.
Like me?
Yeah. It's right in the beginning, so, like, if you want to just see it, like, it's
just
like...
jump on and torture myself.
It's literally, like, a 3-minute part out of, like, a whole 20-minute short. It definitely needs, like, some sound balancing issues and stuff, which I'm pretty sure they're like, here's the vibe we're going for, and it's pretty much has an essential Kickstarter thing. But anyway, it looks really cool. I hope they get the money. I can't, at the moment, afford to help them out, otherwise I would. But we're not here to talk about that. There we go. The world's shortest banter that I've ever done, because...
That was good.
There we go. I didn't get any of your guys' input. There we go.
We did it. 2 seasons. We did it.
Yeah, I believe this was the music we used last time.
I don't remember, but I like it.
Yeah, I think so. For people who didn't listen to the last episode, welcome to the Sanity Lost. I got into, like, a game show
Yeah, I was
voice.
gonna say, what's
Welcome
that
to-
voice? That was a good one.
Welcome to the game show of where our contestants, aka our investigators, will ask me, the keeper, aka the host, questions, and I won't answer them.
As expected.
It's my favorite podcast.
Yeah. Starting off with contestant number 1, we have Elizabeth filling in the role of Cora. We have contestant number 2, John, who fills in the role of Skip and sometimes a dead person. Maybe.
Question number 1, is Percy alive?
I can't answer that. Mainly because it's not question and answer time yet. And contestant number 3 is some guy who invited himself to everything I do.
Yeah, pretty much. These are accurate words.
We were just playing, and he, like, showed up in the stream, so we just went with it.
Nite, who plays the role of Caleb. And one thing I will find funny is our first little Q&A of, like, wow, that seemed really intense in the last episode of the finale 1. Yeah, well, I'm now just seeing that John wrote in the chat, hey, I'm going to make Skip fight everything about this.
You didn't see it?
No, I didn't see it.
You still
until...
basically did the same. What was that?
Yeah, you did.
I didn't see it, but yeah, he was just like, you should make the commander order him to stay. And I was like, in the back of my head, I was like, should I just let him go? Because, like, I didn't see the message, and then I'm just like...
I, like, debated, like, calling your attention to, like, be like, hey, drop something in chat, but, like, the way you went with it, I was like, oh, he must have seen it, so...
Nope.
Well, I'm glad glad it went that way.
Yes. But we'll find out in chapter 3 if Skip is still around. Spoilers, he is. I asked John, I think yesterday, do you still want to play Skip? Because I have thoughts, and he's like, yeah, sure, I can do that. But a little bit, it wasn't as like, yeah, okay.
Arm twisty. Wasn't as arm twisty.
You'll play him now. I'm the puppeteer, and you are the puppet. Anyway, so the way this normally works is our players here will ask me questions that they had throughout the season. If it's anything, or season through the last chapter. And if it's anything like the last time, it will just be Elizabeth reading her notes to me. So
Yeah, come on, you guys. You gotta participate more here.
So I do have.
Anyway, the floor is yours. We are cutting this off at an hour because that's when someone has to go sleep. It's not me, as we already said. The internet diagnosed me for ADD, and I don't sleep. Whatever.
What?
I sleep.
Sorry,
too much.
squirrel. So
You said that, and I found a fork.
oh, that is fantastic.
So I
So
was like, I heard you say that. I'm like, where did that come from?
so I'm
Go ahead.
curious if the tall man that the kids were referencing finding in the forest, we've all suspected that that's been Theodore. Is it actually Theodore that they were seeing?
Yes. Yeah. That there was. I was hinting pretty heavily at it, but yes.
It's one of those that assumptions were made, but never really truly confirmed.
I don't think that ruins the story at all. But yes, that was who they were seeing in there, and that's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, I think Theodore plays a very Theodore still holds a very interesting position in this story because there's a bit of a benevolence about him in how he interacts with the kids, but then he also walked off with this mind control rock.
Mhm.
And so I as a player really don't know how to feel about him. I get very excited that he's in this story, but I don't know what to not totally sure what to think of him.
On the plus
He's your
side,
guy's
though,
Bob.
the stone is no longer in Greaseball's hands, being used to
True.
influence the vote.
That greaseball has a name. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yes,
Very hard,
Greaseball.
and I think at a name generator.
Oh, yes, that'd be.
Actually,
So-
no, I think that's from my brain.
Dave, can you answer this question?
Probably
Carl was Carl the mayor in the chapter with Buster in chapter 1?
Yep.
He
Did
was the
Carl
mayor
have
in-
the rock then?
If you remember at I think it was between Percy, the little short. I think it was after Percy, where you guys were all like, "Oh my goodness!"
Yeah.
There was a little thing where he was in the mines, and
Carl was in the mines.
Carl was in the
That's
mines,
right.
and that's
okay. That's when he got it.
yes, I'm okay sharing that because that was the little snippy dippy.
In there, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Carl
And
was
I'm
also the
guessing,
mayor.
I mean, this is
He was also the mayor in the prologue too.
I think he was.
Or was he running
campaigning.
for mayor? At that
I think
point?
he was running at that point.
so
But
he had,
he was been mayor forever, your
Yeah.
whole lives, which isn't legal. So
Depends on the town charters. I don't think
in my
mayor
brain,
has.
shouldn't be legal.
I generally agree that it probably shouldn't be in most cases, but the mayor, senate, and a lot of other positions are not typically term limited
Termed.
like presidential role is.
So somehow Gross Carl managed to stay mayor. Well, I guess if he ran unopposed, but somehow managed to stay mayor without a mind-altering rock for 20 years. That's horrible. No wonder our town is in such a mess.
Yeah, and you know the town that he would have given up the mine to to Skip if Skip had gotten a chance to get to him before.
I know. Okay, can you answer that question? If Skip had talked to Carl, would he have just given him the mine?
I don't think Carl would have.
Yeah.
The thing about Carl is, yes, he's a dirtbag, but he is an opportunistic dirtbag, and so unless he would have attained more power, and power doesn't equal money. So like if it literally just came down to the time crunch of everything, where it's just like if Skip wanted to talk with Giuseppe earlier, it could have happened. There was definitely moments in there, but by the time he decided and Poe just like, hey, let's go on a joyride, it kind of just whittled down the clock. That was one of the things with this chapter is like I didn't give a time constraint, but I wanted to keep the time, the days shorter than like it's a whole week
because we drag out a whole week.
And not so much not that it drags out. I think it just doesn't make sense with the story we're telling. If we were just doing a story that didn't jump up through eras, then yeah, a week or 2 weeks wouldn't be that big of a deal. But it's just like I don't know. I think it just is a better story keeping like tighter barriers around time. But yeah, but that's the thing. He could have sold the town to the military, but like it would have had to been something that would have been like not just money, but something that would have given him like some form of power.
Influence or power. So you could have had it, John. You could have had that. Yeah. Instead, you were riding around with Poe.
I know. So my question.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, my question is, had you always had, like, was Theodore planned to show up at the debate all along, or were there actions that we did that influenced that?
He was going to show up at the end. That was a planned thing where he was going to show up. Like you guys were going to see him at some point. It just really depended where. Like as time went on, it just like comparing, like he took a very active role this chapter compared to chapter 1. But like in chapter 1, he kind of just shared a few words and left, and then in this chapter he said pretty much was taking a very active role. So
like an active behind the scenes role.
Yes, he was doing something, and that's to say you don't know if he was doing something before because you guys did really. Like you were more freaked out than like, hey, but yeah, it was always planned for him to be kind of there.
Is he coming back?
I can't tell you that.
I know. Okay, I want to talk about the hospital. What didn't we see at the hospital?
I can't tell you.
Oh. I so want to know who was at the hospital.
Was it Theodore at the hospital?
To ever find out? Yeah. Well, I mean, the first person that popped into my head, which is it doesn't even make sense depending on what's going on, but like the first person that popped into my head was Percy, which would be crazy because he's in some miniature magic town last we knew. Do we ever get to like find out? Like if you're not telling us, do we get to like find that information out? It just lost.
There's always
forever.
the chance. Like there's always a chance too, but it's the thing is you guys know there was something. Your characters have no clue there was anything there.
No.
I think the only person that did was Poe. Like he saw something.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
thought,
did
yeah.
he passed his role?
He
Yeah.
passed his role, but he didn't do anything with it.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, right, because he made a comment.
He made a comment about thinking he saw somebody.
Someone.
He
That's
recognized.
why. That's why it made me think about it because yeah.
Yep.
It would have been someone that he knew. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that one felt frustrating that everyone failed their roles.
It's
and we
just like
didn't actually get
dangled
to
out
know.
in front of us. Like,
I know.
nope, you
that
don't
was
get to find
so
out.
Brutal. So brutal. Because he kept being like, do a spot hidden. And we're like, oh my gosh, there's something here. Please, somebody pass this stupid roll.
Caleb would like to go back out to the hospital and try again.
Yeah.
All you
I think
find is
Cora
Carl.
needs to go to the hospital now. Just stand in the waiting room.
Kind of along the lines of my other question, was there any actions that we took that like influenced things at all, or like, were there any time-based stuff or things that were happening that we either like missed or caused to come about?
Let me see. There are things I don't want to say missed, but I think some of the things that happened in this chapter, you guys will see come to fruition later. About certain events, but no, this one wasn't as reactive as you guys like a lot of the dreams for the townspeople when you asked them was just improv on the spot. It was like the dreams, the connective point was Carl, but so like I had that to work off of. It was just what like how did they connect, and it's just like what was their thing, and it's just like it was kind of finding out like what information could I pass along that you guys, there's no way you guys would have gotten. For example, Rose being into rocks. Like,
well, I found it, I don't know if this was intentional, Dave, and maybe you answer this, maybe you don't, but I found it interesting that her dream felt different than other people's. Like it felt like Carl was like actively offering her something, and I guess he did offer other things, but not quite as like overtly as it sounded like he was offering her.
I don't think everyone's dream was as intense as your guys. And then you guys also talked with like the trauma people. So
it's the only people we're friends with is all the other trauma people.
So because I don't think his was all that serious either. Like,
I don't think so.
I think it was probably, I can't remember, but I think Carl was there. It might have been something about overdue books, but it's just like,
I think that like leads me, there was something you said in our last episode that like made me, when Rose was talking to Caleb about like what actually happened, or like Ashley even being like, we carried Carl out and then we heard a gunshot. So the town as a whole, because like we're playing characters who are like intimately involved in like the supernatural traumatic weirdness, like the town as a whole, like how much awareness do they have of these weird events? Like how much are they impacted by, or like even like traumatized by the things that like us as players have gone through?
If you guys remember in the prologue, everyone knew something was happening down at Cutter's cabin. I don't think the fact of whatever you guys saw was hidden. Like, the adults pretty much hid it from you guys,
Mm.
which was I think that was revealed to Skip. Like, pretty much, like, stuff went down. Like, I think Poe was the one that's just like, don't mess with those kids. Like, they've been through a lot. Like,
Yeah.
and so, and then Skip being Skip, just, and totally anybody in Skip's shoes, like, wouldn't pick that up. Because it's just, like, even after, like, it's, the tale is, like, of myth and legend, and, like, essentially, like, the way I imagine is Skip is this, like, city slicker coming into a town full of hicks.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's
Totally.
a white collar coming into blue collar, if I'm getting the collars right.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
But
I mean, it would be like us going to like a mountain town in the Poconos where there's like 200 people that live there, right? Like that would feel very.
I did that.
Yeah,
I used to
John and
live
I
in
just did
upstate
a
New
few
York.
weekends ago too. Yeah, yeah, it's a very different feel for sure.
I like it. I forgot the original question. Oh, yeah.
No, I was just asking like how traumatized is the rest of the town?
But yeah, so I think they're all dealing with it in their own ways, but just like in the prologue, and just like I think the thing that probably traumatized them the most, and like they're more just like just don't acknowledge it, let's just move on, is Uncle Buster, because that affected the whole town.
Right, yeah.
Like, I think the thing is just because the way we're playing this, it doesn't feel like there's a lot of time happening, but it's like, as you were saying, it's almost, let's see, it'll be over, let's see, so there was 10 years between the prologue and chapter 1 and 9 years, so it's just shy of 20 years.
Yeah.
And then it's going to be 34 years between the events of the prologue.
Yeah.
And like between that, you have people moving, getting hitched, getting dead, getting whatever, like living their lives. And it's like, if they were like face to face with it, like you guys were, because to your knowledge, besides Sheriff Hudson, you guys are the ones that are like underground, like kind of solving these issues and all that.
Yeah.
But you guys really haven't explored to find out if there's other people doing things.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That is true.
Yeah. I have a splinter.
Squirrel. Or fork.
Shiny. I think there, to some extent, obviously we can go explore and ask just random people different stuff, but the risk there is that we're uncovering that, hey, we're actively investigating these spooky, weird things, and that that doesn't seem like, it doesn't feel like something that would be advisable to just share with anyone that's not part of it.
Yeah.
There have been hints of people that could, like, I'll just leave it at this, that could be connected or somehow. There have been a couple names thrown out there, but
yeah, we need to get Father Bailey back in our circle, because apparently he is like, he's doing something and we have not talked to him at all. Like when we were like 10.
So like most people in the church.
But I think also it in some ways, I don't know that we've been intentional about this, but I do think it the fact that as characters like Cora and Caleb haven't openly talked about it other than in their like really small group is also very like small backwoods hick town, where I think there can be this culture of like shared trauma where everyone knows the story but no one talks about it, right? Like like you're aware of it, you know it's happened, you know you've lived this terrible thing, but it's too scary or it's too shameful to actually discuss. So I think in some ways like we've like played that out kind of realistically even if it's been more of like a time thing or just like not being aware of all the people we could be talking to. Like,
Mhm.
I think that's how it actually would go, right? Like, I don't think that these people would be talking about these things in this like tiny little weird town.
Well, especially
I
in the 1930s and 40s.
yeah, and
Yeah.
I don't think anybody that was directly involved with it would talk about it for sure. There might be
Yeah.
a lot of the people might talk about what they heard happened and the rumors that happened and the legends that happened. They might talk
Yeah.
about it that way, but the ones that are directly involved with those types of things don't tend to be as open about it in most cases because nobody believes them. Is part of it is nobody believes them.
Let's be fair. Not fair, but a real world example is Sheriff Hudson. No, to my knowledge, you guys don't, and feel free to correct me because I'm getting a bunch of stuff mixed up, but I don't think she has told anybody what actually happened on that night, and the most of the accounts that you guys hear is from other people saying that, like, oh yeah, we chased it off and Sheriff Hudson chased it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like you really you guys don't even know what happened that long ago.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel this as a player, and I think that it kind of crosses over to like character as well, this sense of like distrust of
Sheriff Hudson.
No, I mean sometimes I think Cora probably has that more than Caleb does, right? Like I think Cora's always felt a little more like standoffish from
Is
Sheriff
it because
Hudson.
she's a woman?
Probably
I
'cause
think
Cora annoys her, and she just doesn't want her around.
Well, I think maybe that's it. Through that time frame between the prologue and chapter 1, where both Caleb and Cora would have been going to the sheriff, like what happened, constantly type of thing, trying to figure out what actually happened to their friend, and yeah, that whole thing. I think Caleb eventually kind of got through, like, yes, I want to know what happened because I don't want it to happen to my friends, and I want to. Caleb has a bit of that protector side that.
Yeah.
No, he's not going to talk about what happened because he wants to keep it. He wants to keep the others away from it, basically, and it's kind of one of those. The more you know about it, the scarier it is, and if you just. Yeah, you don't have to face the big bad because I'm here to face the big bad in your behalf. So just don't worry about it. I've got this. And I that's kind of the vibe that Sheriff Hudson gives me as well, is kind of that, stand behind me, I'm facing the big bad on your behalf, so you don't have to. And now it's not just Sheriff Hudson, it's Sheriff Hudson and Caleb that kind of provide that protector line, and, well, now they both know that Cora is kind of in the loop on that side of things, too.
Yeah.
Which...
But I think it also, like, highlights the personality difference where, like, Cora wants to protect, but from more of, like, she takes more of like the knowledge intellectual side of things, of like knowing, right? Like just wanting to like rather than just like protect out of sheer force, she wants to know and understand and kind of like get to the root of it. So I think it's been fun to build our secret societies around like some of those character differences.
How about
and like
Skip?
build up alliances. Yeah, where's Skip?
As far as
what does Skip feel like about?
I have the way this last episode ended. There's things I need to talk with John about.
yeah.
Because so the peek behind the curtain. I think I said this at the beginning of the episode. I talked and found it's like, do we want Skip in there? And I think it will be interesting to see his change over the 15 years.
It's a long time. That's a long time for
Especially,
someone.
it's like, this is a really long month.
Well,
Yeah.
I was talking to Elizabeth a couple nights ago. We were kind of talking, or I was telling her that you had texted me in the conversation we had, and we were kind
That
of
was secret.
yeah.
Metagaming,
Tell my
jeez.
wife
Marriage,
everything.
My goodness. I don't tell
Where's
my
our-
wife anything.
Where's,
And so, like,
where's our secret character Discord?
Yeah, I have like this idea that I could see like Skip having gotten into like the local law enforcement in some way, like whether that's like maybe he's taken over as sheriff or he's depending on what we do with the current sheriff, or so I could see him being drawn to that like line of work. So at least as far as like job, I could see that be. I also am like, I've debated whether I should make him go AWOL.
Mm-hmm.
And if like he just stopped responding to like the military people, and like if they would have just kind of like, if they like wondering like would they have gone after him, or if he's just in this remote mountain town that especially if he didn't have a particularly like good reputation back home as it was, like would they have maybe just like let him go, or but that could also be something that like hangs in his background. But
I could
I
also
haven't
see
decided
him.
if that's something I want to do yet.
I could also see him mainly because like I could see Skip being really mad at people that like don't follow the rules of like that are set by like pretty much being a forester and just like getting in the ranger car and like pretty much like people setting fires, and then he just like shows up out of the woods and be like,
Yeah, right.
do you have water? Do you have water to put that out in case it goes fire? We will lose all of this and the coal. Like, just still like, I want this town, and if you burn it down, I will kill you. But
no foreshadowing there or anything.
like he is now the new Carl.
See, I'm also kind of
Yeah.
curious about kind of Skip's perception of both Caleb and Cora sticking around to fight
Yeah.
these creatures.
Yeah.
Like the initial
Yeah.
panic fire, and then realizing that there's two other people that are still here.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. No, I think I'm really curious where Skip falls, both in his like interactions with Caleb and Cora, as well as then like, well, and John, you're gonna have to figure out like what is his relationship with the military piece of things, because he's now been given this more direct command to like explore the culty side of things, right? Which brings you closer to Caleb and I, as well as like what you just experienced. And so
I mean, I have to imagine, and I mean, I doubt we'll play it just because of the time jump, but I have to imagine at some point he like, seeks you out, both Cora and Caleb, to like try and figure out what he saw.
Yeah.
And so at that point, gets read in on what's going on.
right. Well, I guess it depends. I think Cora would tell you some backstory, but not like Cora's not going to tell Skip about the Whispers or the Seekers.
Yeah, sure.
But like maybe fill you in more on like the town's history. I don't know what Caleb would do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so unless Skip was showing signs of being very much fully behind what the Whispers do, there's no chance that Caleb is going to even hint that something is out of place in that regards to Skip. Like, even if Skip came back and was like to ask Caleb about the extra gunshots that Caleb was firing in this fight, he's gonna deny that it ever happened. Like,
Yeah.
I don't have a gun. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
That's just.
And I don't think that would even be part. I think it would be more of the like, what were these creatures I just saw, and like, were they real, and why did you stay and fight them. Like it feels like you knew how to basically those kind of questions of like,
Yeah.
what is this, and am I actually crazy or not?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean stuff
Yeah,
like that. Caleb I can see Caleb being more along, kind of supporting Skip in a way of like, yes, I don't know what they were, but they were real. You didn't imagine them. Yeah, you saw how badly Cora got hurt. They were real things, and I stayed to fight because I have friends and family that I'm protecting. I'm not gonna just let whatever these things are that clearly looked hostile from the start. That I'm not gonna just let them go after everybody.
Yeah.
Why? Should have. I would
They at
have.
least could have eaten Carl. Maybe put him out of his misery after he gagged up grapefruit-sized egg sacks.
I will say this conversation did remind me of something of, and going back to John's question of like, did you guys do anything different? I purposely put Cora's name in there as one of the trusted people just to see if he was going to go and ask there, and you did a little bit, but it was a lot more. And there was like hints from Poe, like I think it was very early on, where Elizabeth, after we finished recording, was like, Poe threw me under the bus, and it's just like, it's like Poe's an old man, he don't know what's going on. But it's like, and as we went on, it made sense that Skip was much more off of the much more tangible and easy to see goal of get town, rather than the more hidden goal of secret society cult activity.
Right.
And I think that played really well to Skip's character because it allowed John to like lean into the trauma side of things really well, right? Like Skip wasn't looking for that. He didn't believe in it. And even when people tried to let him in on like, hey, there's some weird stuff going on here, like Skip was way more focused on like Nazis and like, infiltrators from Europe rather than like supernatural. And so I think that was a cool opportunity to then, and John, I think you did a really good job of like letting Skip be super traumatized by these things because he didn't buy in and he didn't explore.
How many points of sanity did you lose?
Yeah.
How many points of sanity?
Yeah.
Throughout the game.
Did I lose or?
Yeah.
Not you as the person, but Skip.
Yeah. I don't remember how many lost. I mean, I was at like mid-50s. But I don't think I actually lost much because I started low. I think anytime we did a sanity check, like I passed my rolls typically. So.
Yeah, I think you failed like 3 times. You failed the snake one. You failed the one at the end. And I feel like you might have failed one other one.
Maybe.
But yeah. I think Cora actually failed just as much, if not maybe more than Skip did this time. Either that or I just took a harder hit when I did fail.
I think that was the case.
Yeah. So Dave, I'm curious, did anything like stand out as the keeper as being surprising, or like did you have like a favorite moment or something like that?
Any chance I got to play as Timmy.
I did very much enjoy how you
all I heard was one line, and then it was like, this is his whole personality. But like
throwing knife tic-tac-toe.
One thing I did throw in there that I think was interesting, that was inspired by the Timmy kind of role play, was Cora's dream, and I think we saw how Cora sees Timmy.
Yeah.
And it's just where he's like, no, Mom, the town's on fire. We gotta, I'm helping people. Like, what are you still doing here? Get out.
Yeah.
And like, we saw a little bit of that in the end of like, I don't know, what, he's still like 10 years old or something like that?
I think he's like 11,
11, 10. It's just like, he only knows, like, it's not like he had the internet where he could go look up like how fix leg, but it's like,
Yeah.
I know one love language and it's apples. Here, mom.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I
So-
think that's a really like beautiful storyline, like
Mhm.
this B character arc of like, yeah, he's a terror, and in some ways Cora has like intentionally cultivated some of that, I think, to build a bit of like a protective barrier around him.
Mhm.
But like there's also this very like sweet like kid in there who also deserves a chance to come out every once in a while.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I don't know, the other thing that like I make jokes of this on the Traveler recording that hasn't come out yet, because well, everyone knows him now, Josh Logan. I have to play his character's husband, and he's like, "This is really weird." I'm like, "No, I literally am playing Nite's girlfriend and Elizabeth's boyfriend." It's like, if anybody heard me say that through the wall through my open window,
It's still Pride Month. You're fine.
I don't know.
yeah, what's that, Polly?
Yeah, I was gonna say you can be whatever
Just
you want to be.
fill it all in.
Yeah.
But I think one of the things I also liked, which was one of my goals, was for this chapter, was to give more relationship points, like more points of human interaction outside of just your inner circle, because chapter 1 was very much Cora, Percy, and Caleb, with a little bit of Sheriff Hudson, and like handfuls of like little bits and pieces from everything else. I wanted these other characters, which I think like you guys all did. Like John for Skip definitely had Poe, and like originally Poe was just like,
Oh,
how
so
dare
fantastic.
yeah, well, Poe was like original. Like your guys' only interaction was like him scolding Percy for theoretically making out with people in the library.
In the library, yeah.
Whether that's true or not, who knows? But then it's like you get this whole other side of Poe, because it's like, I think even before, like, Cora and Caleb never really talked with them, and then next thing you know, like, you find out that he has a sugar addiction and like is almost like drugs to him. He's like, "This is really good. Can I have more of this?" And it's just like, and so this like very reserved, scary looking dude, like as like you kind of interact with them more, as like I think it was even more everyone's first like, "Is he gonna ask me to return books?" So I don't think I have any books out, and it's just like, I'm here for some sugar.
Yeah. No, I definitely appreciated that, and I think there are some characters that, you know, like the nurse character that shows up. I feel like she has, I can never remember her name, but she has
Nurse
like,
Green.
Nurse Green, yeah. She like shows up and she feels so crabby all the time. I feel like she
is from Philly.
Depth to her somewhere, or even like Hudson's parents, like Dean and Maura. Like we get to see like a little bit more of them. Yeah, and clearly we have to go after Father Bailey next.
Maura is the like one character that I'm like always a little bit hesitant to play, because I don't feel like I can do a good like Spanish
or
accent.
Hispanic, yeah.
Yeah, Hispanic, and it's just like, if you listen to the first episode, it's very clear I'm not comfortable with the voice I gave this person.
Yeah.
So now it's just very much like, yes, hello. Like very like she's here,
Like,
and it's just
want to talk this person.
It's that's why she's kind of very short. She's always been quiet spoken unless it's a kid, and so it's
no, that's fair. I think
but
that's fair.
But yeah, I also kind of like how she's like the only person that isn't like part of a secret society. Is like, yeah, no, you saw something. I know what's up. Like,
yeah.
And Skip's like,
she's very aware.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
So. And then immediately like, go take a shower, otherwise I'll throw a chinchilla at you. Yes.
No, it was a good season. It was a good season.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited for the next one. Or a good chapter, I guess.
Yeah,
I don't know what we're calling these anymore.
chapters.
Okay.
This is all
chapters, a good
season
chapter.
1. Season 1. It's the storyline is season 1. That's how I'm calling it on the podcast feed. But
I don't even know what season 2 is going to be.
not this story.
Yeah, no kidding. Not this 100 years of story.
Yeah, that's how it started off. I do, like, no surprise. Like, I know as soon as I say this, I was like, but are we surprised? I'm getting that out of the way. Like, yeah, I already have, like, 2 other storylines, and I'm like, okay, which one sounds more interesting? And there's one that I keep coming back to, and so it should be fun. I do think it will definitely be in the vein of like I don't know. I like connecting things, so it's like I think any game that's going to happen in Sanity Lost is going to have roots in Pennsylvania, because if you poke around a little bit, there's a bunch of weird trash that happens in Pennsylvania. And so it's like I feel like we hear a lot of stories about other places in the world, or like other places just in America, but it's just like you dig through it, there's like a place literally called the Gates of Hell.
Yeah.
Where it's just like this dude went and killed his whole family and then like set his house on fire, and then like anyone that goes in there, like their car just dies.
Yeah.
So like there's stuff like that. But then there's also 3 Mile Island, there's little Statue of Liberty, like there's just
little Statue of Liberty.
Yeah,
there's
there's
little Statue of Liberty.
there's tons of things. I knew very early on I wanted this story to take place in Centralia, because I thought there would be some fun things that could happen there. But
yeah, for sure.
We're 1 decade away from the big thing that happens in Centralia, so
that's exciting.
And then the real question will be, does the fire happen on schedule, or does something else happen? Because it's our alternate history. I'm not saying that we're going to get that answer now. I'm just saying that's the big thing to look forward to.
I cannot wait to play the 90s, the 80s and 90s. That is going to be so fun. I don't know what my character is going to be by that time. But
you know it's going to be real fun. There's a chapter that I think happens literally in COVID. I think that's the last chapter. Which
the last chapter, COVID kills them all.
That's going to be traumatic for me personally. Thank you very much. I lived that in real life.
You make it sound like none of us lived through COVID.
Excuse me, Dave. You did not.
That even though
live it, I do not.
Yeah, I do. It's so like, you know what? Besides like the death and everybody, it was just so nice because no one invited me anywhere.
Okay, that's true. That's fair. I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
I'll take the COVID theme park lines any day of the week.
Yeah. I'll take
the space between groups.
And
it's the other thing is, like, with COVID, with the way my life is set up right now, literally nothing changed. Like, I still had to go into work. I worked more.
Yeah.
It sucked.
Yep.
I remember I got yelled at by a guy at work because I wasn't wearing a mask. I'm like, you are literally 20 feet away from me. Like,
yeah.
It's like, just because you guys are all whatever, that's a whole other thing. But it's like, I remember he got all mad at me, and I was like, you were, well, no one knows who this is. John does. It was Frank.
You came into my space to say that I don't have a mask on. Let's go away, and you're fine.
No, he didn't come up to me. He was still like, it was one of those things. I'm like, I was in a room that was like 8 times the size of my apartment by myself. And I'm like, what? I'm like, I'm not going to wear a mask in here. And it's like, if people come in or I got to go out, I'll put it on.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I'm following the rules. No one's here. And someone did not like that I could have done that.
Yeah.
And so I did it anyway. But any poops. Last call for questions.
I'm ready for the next chapter.
That's not a question. That's a statement.
I know. That's what I'm saying. No more questions. Just statements.
Yep.
It's kind of a bummer that I wasn't able to plan this closer to a Christmas thing, but I'm to actually Christmas time coming out. But I'm like,
we're gonna be in the middle of
well.
July.
Yeah,
That'll
Christmas
be
in
fun.
July. Yeah, do you guys want to know a
Christmas
fun
year-round.
fact? You guys want to know a fun fact about the year that you guys are going to, 58?
Sure.
So, this was on Christmas Day. It was the first time they played the Nutcracker on TV.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
interesting.
special.
So yes, that will be mentioned in the episode.
Nice, love it. Gotta slide those historical pieces in there.
As I was looking things up, I'm like, I knew approximately where I wanted to put this, and then I was like, where? It's like, I don't want to deal with another war, even though I'm like, we're literally dealing with the Cold War right now.
Yeah, I was gonna say, welcome to the period of history where we're never not in war.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. It sucks.
But yeah, thank you everyone for listening.
Yeah.
Chapter 3 will start next time, and yeah, we'll see who is Matthias Chilburn. What does he have? Does he have good hair? Well, I do know, but
I hope
Does he
so.
have pizza?
I feel like you need good hair with that name.
does he have pizza? I guess pizza would have existed. Well, I don't know when pizza was in. Created.
Pizza had to have existed in the 50s.
So I already have like an idea for his voice and everything. Okay, we got to end before I give more spoilers. we're literally playing like in a week.
Leave it. I know. Less than a week.
Yeah, and so, which means
The
I
word-
got to get you guys their information.
Yeah.
The word
yeah,
pizza
yeah.
was first documented in AD 997 in Gaeta and successively in different parts of central and southern Italy.
There you go.
So yeah,
So
pizza's
it's
been around a while.
forever. Forever.
Yeah,
No, I
and
want
the last
pizza.
thing is Ilt is joining for Charity Palooza. So
Yay!
let's
Oh,
go.
nice. You got
The
confirmation.
casts are all filled. If you guys are wondering what that is, well, I'll let you know in another episode. We're out of time. Well, we're not, but I'm
You
saying
can
we're out
plug
of time.
Charity Palooza.
Yeah, well,
Do it.
okay, Charity Palooza is a charity event that I do every year. There's a 5th year running, and we raise money for One Up on Cancer, a whole charity a charity nonprofit that is for pretty much helping adults be able to pay their cancer treatments. So that way they can do literally anything else besides freak out where the money's coming from.
Yeah,
Which
it's important.
as having a family member that went through all that, it sucks. So
Yeah.
so yeah, but we can give more information, but we are playing pretty much Call of Cthulhu. It is in the same universe. So who knows? Will Theodore show up? No.
That would be my favorite thing ever. That should happen.
I'm gonna
That
make
would be
him
really
show up.
interesting.
I'm
That
gonna
would
have
be
Theodore
amazing.
show up in the episode that none of
That
you guys
I'm
are in.
Not in. So mean.
And so everyone will be like, that was weird.
Yeah,
So-
no one else knows. And we're like,
Oh, and don't forget your slippy shoes.
Oh yeah, Slippy Shoes will
"Ah,
probably
Sidey shoes.
yeah, so that is the thing that it will be interesting. So but yeah, as we go forward, maybe depending on how many episodes we record on when we meet next, maybe I can give a little bit of
Yeah. An update?
sneak peeks of well, it won't really be much of an update, but sneak peeks on what will be happening in the groups and all that. So anyway, that is it. We'll talk to y'all later. See you guys next time for episode 1 of chapter 3, and I don't have a neat plug for whatever fun banter thing we're going to be talking about.
Probably more books or politics.
Or a potato. Who knows? Till next time. Bye.
Maybe your favorite died. Bye.
The Nat one.